Welcome to the channel. As the rain pours down and the forest whispers in the darkness, we step into the world of first responders. In this atmospheric, ASMR journey, you'll hear the most chilling and unforgettable stories from paramedics and EMTs. Brace yourself for a glimpse into the darkest corners of emergency response. Firefighter here. Once responded to a vehicle versus 18-wheelers accident, where the car pulled out in front of the truck, which was going approximate 70 miles per hour, car caught fire afterward. Dispatch initially called it out as a vehicle fire, and when we arrived, it looked like a car had exploded in the middle of the 5-lane highway. We pulled the passenger out upon arrival, and I vividly remember my captain spraying him down with the hose, because he was burning. He likely died upon impact, but everything except his right arm, which had been out the window, was severely burned. My engineer, who pulled him out, said on first grab, he felt the skin give way all the way to the bone. That's how badly the passenger was burned. After the accident and the fire, all that remained of the driver was a pile of human parts melted into what remained of the seat and driver floorboard. It was unrecognizable until the coroner started trying to pull it out and I saw some ribs. Part of the driver's face had been cut off upon impact, and was laying in the roadway among the assorted car parts. It had hair. It haunted me for a long time. On the plus side, my adorable nephew was born that same day. Long-time medic here. Most disgusting thing in recent memory is a call about 2 years back. I was running 911 for a city in the Midwest. Call came in as an OB/GYN complaint. We start rolling to the call and my radio pings. Dispatch to medic 25. 25, go ahead. We have further information on your call from PD on scene. PD were usually always with us on calls. Go ahead with further, dispatch. 25, you're being dispatched on a burned vagina. Come back on your last. I didn't copy. I was honestly thinking I misheard them or something. Negative 25, you copied. I just laughed and said 25 continuing to call. We get on scene to a trailer park. I've been here for the umpteenth time this week. Lower socioeconomic class and lots of narcotics ran through here. I walk into the trailer. It's very well kept and clean minus cigarette smoke. There's a young girl around 17 sitting in a chair. She is wearing no pants or underwear with only a damp washcloth on her groin. Her parents were next to her. I said to her, my name is P8 Bala 00 and I'm a medic with City FD. What happened? She pauses and says, well, take a look. So I peel off the wash rag and immediately was revolted. Her vagina looked awful. There was a strong chemical miasma, there was small amounts of blood on and around it and her hair was patchy and there was what looked like pus. I said Jesus, what happened? She said, my boyfriend gave me crabs. To which I replied, ma'am, crabs do not do this to you. And she said, I know. But I didn't want my parents to know so I couldn't go to a doctor. So I sprayed Raid on it. I was stunned. All I could muster up was, the ant killer stuff. That Raid? She said, no, I think it was the wasp stuff. So TLDR girl has sex, gets STD and activates the nuclear option. Paramedic learns stupidity is infinite. My mom was a paramedic. A kid on a motorcycle was hit by a drunk driver right in front of us. His femurs were in his chest. My mom got out, stuck her hands inside this kid to try to stop the hemorrhaging. He died en route, but I gained a lot of respect for my mom that day. Also figured out that her craziness is probably due to a lot of PTSD from that career path. Driving the car home alone hysterically was a bit of a nightmare, though. She rode in the ambulance because she couldn't take her hands off his arteries. My dad responded to 2 calls in 2 days that caused him to quit his job as a paramedic and completely change careers, after a lengthy inpatient stay due to psychological trauma. The first was a house fire with a preteen girl trapped inside. All the windows were barred and the firefighters couldn't get them off fast enough, so they all watched the girl be burned to death standing in a window frame against the bars. The second was a baby girl who had been raped by an adult man. Her genitals were unrecognizable. While the police were arresting the man, my dad attacked him and all but pulverized the guy's face before the officers pulled him away. This was when I was still on placement for being a paramedic. We got sent to a sketchy hotel/low-income building for a check the welfare, funny smell coming from the room. So we get to the dodgy apartment, head upstairs to the room with the little Chinese landlord. On the way down the hall the smell hit you, dead rotting flesh kind of smell. So we get to the room, landlord unlocks door. Door won't open, so he had to body check the door open. There was knives jammed in the door frame to keep the door wedged shut, which we thought was a little sketchy. We decided to wait for the police to show up before we entered the room. So we're waiting. We can see that the bathroom is right next to the entrance and there's a tap running, so me and partner basically say fuck it, let's go check it out. So we head into the apartment, drug paraphernalia everywhere. We turn into the bathroom, find the bathroom sink that was running and a lady in the bathroom. She is green like Hulk green, bloated, skin rotting, smells like death, clearly has been dead for at least a week. That was definitely one of the most memorable disgusting calls I've been on. As a paramedic, I ran a middle-aged mentally challenged woman, living with other mentally challenged roommates, who had hurt her knee a few months prior to this call. Well, the pain of this injury was so severe for her that she did not get up from her couch for nearly 4 months. She peed, she pooped, she had her period, on this couch for 4 months and did not get up. Her mentally challenged roommates continued to feed her and help her get things as needed, but she stayed put for 4 months. Her roommates eventually called us because the smell had become unbearable. When we finally peeled her off the couch, some of the more senior firefighters rushed outside to throw up. She ended up having necrotizing fasciitis from the midpoint of her butt to the back of her knee, where she had been pissing and pooping herself for months. When she stood up, with our help, the smell of shit, piss, and death was so overwhelming that I'm surprised we didn't all pass out. I know they ended up amputating at least one of her legs. You could see her femur on that leg, as the rest of her tissue was gone and or black as night. EMT here. Here's a trauma callback when I was a basic student. We get a call for an MVC, upon arrival we see it's a motorcyclist that hit a parked car. Thing is, the motorcycle was wedged into the front of the car, pretty much through the engine block. Patient unconscious, miraculously still alive, even though he didn't have a helmet. Agonal gasping, deviated and unreactive eyes, all I was worried about was head and neck. Half of his scalp was avulsed, depressed skull fracture, increased ICP caused him to pretty much bite off his own tongue. Airway is now very much compromised, basically had to pry his mouth open to suction the blood and insert an OPA. Whole transport consisted of bagging and dumping fluids. At this point his lungs are shot. As we left the ER they had a chest tube in both sides. One was profusely draining blood. Guy ended up walking out of the hospital, definitely a lucky man in comparison to most of these other stories. Please for Christ's sake wear a helmet when you're riding a motorcycle. Also stop with the wheelies and shit. 1. You don't look as cool as you think. 2. You'll end up killing yourself or somebody else in the process. A little late, but wanted to tell this story because there's a lesson to be heard from it. I luckily didn't respond to this one, but my FTO had. Husband and wife are at home, cooking. Wife dumps boiled water all over the front of her lap. Husband panics, throws her into his truck, and goes flying to the hospital. He's going approximately 80 in a 50, late at night. Crests a small hill, his truck leaves the pavement ever so slightly so he swerved, can't brake, slams into the back of a dump truck attempting to make a turn. Wife dies instantly, head is caved in by the corner of the dump truck's bumper. I had the pleasure of seeing the wreckage of the truck every day in our impound yard as we investigated the incident. Husband got charged with manslaughter, whatever happened with that, but on top of dealing with killing his wife he was a wreck. Moral of the story, never attempt to drive someone to the hospital like that unless it is imminent life or death, call an ambulance. First responders are trained to drive at a high rate of speed, and can stabilize a patient. A little late, but wanted to tell this story because there's a lesson to be heard from it. I luckily didn't respond to this one, but my FTO had. Husband and wife are at home, cooking. Wife dumps boiled water all over the front of her lap. Husband panics, throws her into his truck, and goes flying to the hospital. He's going approximately 80 in a 50, late at night. Crests a small hill, his truck leaves the pavement ever so slightly so he swerved, can't brake, slams into the back of a dump truck attempting to make a turn. Wife dies instantly, head is caved in by the corner of the dump truck's bumper. I had the pleasure of seeing the wreckage of the truck every day in our impound yard as we investigated the incident. Husband got charged with manslaughter, whatever happened with that, but on top of dealing with killing his wife he was a wreck. Moral of the story, never attempt to drive someone to the hospital like that unless it is imminent life or death, call an ambulance. First responders are trained to drive at a high rate of speed, and can stabilize a patient. As the rain fades and the darkness retreats, we leave these haunting tales behind. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of first responders, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more spine-chilling stories. Until next time, I'll see you on the next adventure.